In fact, they say where something's more and more legal, it's less and less used. It's a very interesting discovery, really, in research. But Canadians smoke more marijuana per capita than any other country on earth. So, by the way, let's give us. Unfortunately, at my trial for the Two Live Crew, the judge was not amongst those enlightened people. And normally, when you have an obscenity trial, you play the obscene record in the courtroom, or you show the obscene material to the jury or the people in it. But our judge felt this was too hot for ordinary citizens to hear aloud in a courtroom. So he made what I thought was a hilarious decision to let the Crown prosecutor read the lyrics aloud in the courtroom. And, you know, a lot of this record is like over 20 years old, so the young people here may not necessarily recognize it. But it has one really well-known song, and when he read out the lines, me so horny, me love you long time, everybody in the audience was howling and howling. The judge would be banging up, bang, bang. This is not a laughing matter. If this could give a clue. But the point was, it was a laughing matter. And to me, nothing is obscene if people laugh from beginning to end when they hear it. Obscenity is when you see someone's head blown off because of war. Or a tragedy like my friend Marilyn Holston, who dies of a heart attack because they want to evict her for smoking. Those things are obscene. Things that are disgusting, or people's lives are at stake, or tragedies occur. It's not disgusting if everybody in the place is howling in laughter. But I was found guilty anyway. Just as I was found guilty of all the Sunday shopping charges. So you don't even have to win to win. You can lose and still win, because as long as one person stands up, you know what? They've never tried to ban or book a record in this country since. It was so embarrassing, so humiliating to have me prosecuted that it's never happened before. So finally I took on the marijuana literature. It took me 4 years to get charged. And we were charged not by selling High Times magazines, not by selling grow books, which I did all that, or Freak Brother comics. Eventually started selling everything in huge quantities. Big pent-up demand after being banned for years. No, I got charged giving a factual pamphlet out to students at a North York secondary school, north of Toronto. It was called 10 Facts About Marijuana Every Parent, Teacher, and Student Should Know. It's one of the classic handouts we've given out. Well, the police objected to that, and the reason they objected, the reason we were even there at that high school, and this happens a lot, is because, you know, when the police get a new hot female recruit, the first job they give her is prostitution detail, where she poses as a prostitute to lure men into getting charged with soliciting, right, which is totally evil as well. Or they send her to a high school where she's still barely young enough to make it look like to a high school student that she's a new transfer student, and my goodness, she's looking for weed. Now, of course, if you see some well-developed 22-year-old passing herself off as a 16 or 17-year-old in high school, and you are a 16, 17-year-old, and that girl actually comes up and acknowledges you and starts talking to you, and then winks at you and says, do you know where I can get some weed? Every single guy in the universe is going to sell himself. Right? Not a guy in his right mind is going to say, not gonna get you, weed man, you're awesome. Right? No, he's gonna find weed immediately, and that's exactly what happened. And then 4 weeks later, 42 young men are charged with trafficking. 42 young men subject to the wiles of an attractive young woman who shows up at town, and now their lives are basically ruined. Can't go to the United States, can't go to a university there, can't become a bonded worker, can't become a trucker, can't become a teacher, can't become a security officer, can't become so many things like that. What would the purpose be to send someone into a school other than to ruin lives? Because what was gained? What did the public gain by such an action? And that was precisely my point. You know, I see this all the time. Every province, every city, every now and then some police chief gets some bright idea to send a new young hottie recruit into a high school, basically to ruin the lives of young men at that high school. Happens all the time. When we were there, we were offended by that, so we gave out this pamphlet to all the students as they left school, and we got charged under section 462.2 of the Criminal Code, and fortunately, Alan Young took the case, the great lawyer from Toronto, who I had come here to the Vinyl Exchange, actually, about 8 years ago to defend the Vinyl Exchange, which is on the north end of town here, when they were charged for selling bombs and paraphernalia. I paid for Alan Young to come up here and defend him. A great lawyer. Well, he defended me and Umberto Arafita of Normal, Canada, back in 1994 went to court, and Judge J. Ellen McDonald overturned the drug literature ban, saying that no free society could tolerate such censorship. And yet it went on for 8 years, and if I had never challenged it, it would still be the law today. I'm just trying to tell you that one man can accomplish an awful lot if you're determined. And I don't mean me, I mean you. Because if there were 10 of me, or 100 of me, or 1,000 of me, marijuana would already be legal in this country, right? And even when marijuana gets legal, by the way, there's always going to be some fascist oppressor trying to take it away from us. And the key thing is to this, remember, is we always have to fight for our liberty. I'm not going to be able to save you and save your freedom. Only you can do that. We need a whole bunch of heroes in the world. We don't need more. We don't need more than one. We need hundreds and hundreds. We need an army of Canadians who are willing to go to the wall and sacrifice something of themselves to bring freedom to this country. Because you're working on the long term. See, I'm always thinking on the long term. I don't care what happens to me in jail. What happens to my physical form in this lifetime is irrelevant. It's what happens to future generations by my example. My example I want to live on forever. So when I go away, that's what I want you to tell people. I want you to tell them what I did. You can read what I did. I've got an enormous resume of activities on behalf of our culture. I love Canadians. I love the cannabis culture. I want to save this country. I want this country to be the best it can possibly be because it has the greatest potential in the world to be the greatest place on earth. First of all, we're the most integrated country on earth. You know, I look at this room, I look when we pass a joint, we see everybody in that joint's passing circle. We see gay people, straight people, men, women, people of every color, race. We see hippies, we see straights, we see goth people, we see everybody. When you pass in a joint, we're not about prejudice. We're not about exclusion. I've never seen someone pass a joint around and say, you, hey, get out, you're not one of us. Never seen it. Never seen it in my life. Everybody's welcome when you're passing a joint. Because that's the kind of people we are. See, Bob Marley had it right. The more men smoke herb, the sooner Babylon will fall. Absolutely fucking right. The more of us that smoke weed, the better the world is going to be. And that's your job, too. Right? That's your job. You've got to go out and find those straight people. You've got to get them high. Get them high in a beautiful, pleasant way. Don't overstone them, because you know that's always a problem. You know, don't give them a brownie the first time around. Right? Don't give them a brownie. Don't, because you know, because it's happened to everybody. Happened to me. I went to Calgary recently. Don't want to be blaming anybody for anything, but being nice. My host who brought me there said, I made some brownies. Would you like one? Oh, all right. So I eat the brownie, and I remember saying kind of innocuously, it tastes like pure hash. And she goes, oh, really? And she said, uh-oh, I hope I did that right. And I go, what do you mean? She said, well, he gave me a big chunk of hash, and I chopped it up into 25 squares, and I threw it in the mix. And I said, oh, no, you're supposed to grind it up and put it in butter and simmer it with the butter and you're supposed to put chunks of hash right into the mix. And she said, oh, I'm sorry. So anyway, I thought, well, hopefully it's going to be cool. Right? But 45 minutes later, and I've got to give a big speech. People have paid money to hear me at a dinner. Right? And I'm going to it, and I said, I've got to get out of this vehicle right now. And I fell right out of the door, went right down to my hands, knees, puked up right in the grass, crawled around, into a sweat worse than the one I've even got right now. Oh, I felt terrible. I was saying, oh, I got to get home. This is awful. And Jody's saying, Mark, we've got 35 people who paid money to hear you give a speech. You've got to pull yourself together. I said, no, I've never felt so terrible my whole life. I said, and then I realized when I asked her, I said, what was in that? She said, well, I put those chunks in. And, you know, you probably, because when I said it tastes like pure hash, it was pure hash. And when you've heated up a chunk of pure hash and you gobble it down, you're going to get overstoned. Right? And whenever that happens to someone for the first time, they never smoke pot again. And those are the people who walk around saying, pot did terrible things to me, man, it did terrible things to you. Because we all extrapolate our own experience as if that was everybody's experience. And sometimes that's a good comparison, but a lot of times it's not a good comparison. Because set and setting is so important, right? Now the first time I smoked pot was an awesome time. You know, it was 10 to midnight, I just fallen in love with someone, I was about to have sex there, and she said, hey, smoke this first, right? So I smoked that joint, it was the most awesome sex I ever had, I fell in love with that woman, I stayed with her for 9 years, she was amazing, right? So I had a great first experience with my first joint that got me high, so every time I think of smoking joint, I think, oh, it's always been so beautiful, right? But if you give a bad experience, give someone that brownie, they're getting sick like I was there, and you've overdone it to impress them or whatever, those people are never going to smoke pot again, and they're going to say bad things about pot all the time.